expressiveness of that immobilized side of his face was now concentrated there. From downstairs he heard the everyday noises of his wife and children having breakfast, getting ready to go out. Sounds that suddenly seemed full of pathos, or at least a kind of anticipated pathos. The eye had a yellow, filmy look to it, almost as if it were sheathed in something else. The edges of the cornea were reddening. It felt dry and was already a little sore. 2. The previous evening James had been to a neighbour's house for a meeting of the New Glades Estate Residence Committee, of which, for the last 8 months, he had been the chair. They had run rapidly through the agenda: the long-awaited resurfacing of the estate road, problems with fly-tippers, problems with the gardening contractors for the shared land, arrangements for the summer party. There was some discussion about a resident who was having work done and who had left an overflowing skip in the street for weeks without it being picked up. James agreed that he would have a discreet word. William, a pedantic retiree whose 2 pairs of glasses hung in tangles around his neck, and who acted as the committee's neighbourhood watch officer, reported that there had been 2 further incidents of the antisocial behaviour. The antisocial behaviour was a euphemism for the sporadic discovery of teenage couples, assumed to be from the sprawling local authority estate half a mile away, in cars parked up at the far dead end of the estate road by the entrance to the woods. Discussion of the problem was a favourite of the committee, in need of a vicarious thrill, Sarah had suggested to James, and several of them were very worked up about it. James had never witnessed it himself, although he had seen the beer cans, cigarette butts, and fast food wrappers that were sometimes left behind. Even if all the reports were accurate, which he doubted, he did not see that a huge amount of harm was being done. "I have fed back to the police," said William, looking up from his notes, and replacing 1 pair of glasses with another, "and they have assured me they will increase the number of patrols in the area as a deterrent. If anyone has any other suggestions, please say so."
"There is a real danger,"
said Vanessa, committee treasurer,
"that the estate will get a reputation."
Her voice, pained, nasal and complaining, never failed to set James's teeth on edge. As usual, she was wearing too much of the gaudy, vaguely hippyish jewellery that he had heard she made in a studio at her house.
"Then we will be overrun. It's probably too late already."
James had not even wanted to be on the committee. With work and the kids, he had enough on his plate already. But under pressure from his next-door neighbour, the incumbent chair, and with a view of himself as a good neighbour and a good citizen, he had agreed, assuming, not totally inaccurately as it turned out, that it would be a dispiriting assembly of time-wasters, busybodies, curtain-twitchers, and NIMBYs. After each of the monthly meetings, James made Sarah laugh with impersonations of the other committee members who, in a discussion on whether to install a bike rack at the entrance to the adjacent woods, insisted earnestly and at great length on maintaining the architectural integrity of the estate, and who called for heightened vigilance, following the sighting of an unidentified hooded man walking along the road after dark. After only a few months, the next-door neighbour had moved away, and there seemed to be a tacit assumption that James would take over as chair. As he told Sarah at the time, he should have seen it coming. Since then, however, he felt he had run a pretty tight ship. The first thing he did was to establish a written constitution that clarified the committee's role and responsibilities. From then on, the meetings were short and efficient. He kept a lid on the other committee members' tendency to digress, and also tried to act as a corrective to the general air of parochialism and paranoia. At times this meant being rather abrupt, and initially this seemed to shock a couple of them, used to a more indulgent regime. But James was not doing this for fun, and soon enough he felt that most, if not all of them, came to appreciate his style. He ran meetings every day at work. He was a project manager at a medium-sized consultancy firm in town, and he sensed some deference to his professional background, as well as to his relative youth and energy. Already James felt he had earned some credit, and passed a little test in his own mind when, over the summer, a group of travellers had held a series of loud parties.